Hey friends, and welcome to this new video. Today we will see some secrets of the prototype. In Chapter 5 we finally saw the prototype. After years of theories, his appearance was revealed. We finally saw what the main antagonist of the saga really looks like, the character who has been pulling the strings behind almost everything that happened. Anyway, the version we saw in the game wasn't the very first idea that was originally planned. Some employees from Mob Entertainment shared official concepts that show how the prototype's design evolved over time. And trust me, the differences are really interesting. In this video, we're going to take a close look at these original concepts published by Mob Entertainment and compare them with the final design that was revealed in Chapter 5. We'll see what changed, which elements stayed the same, which ones were modified, and most importantly, we'll try to understand why certain choices were made. We will compare the old design with the final one. So if you're curious to discover how the prototype could have looked in an alternative version, this is the right video for you. And I can already tell you that some of these concepts are very different from what we saw in the final game. Before we start, make sure to leave a like if you love the Poppy Playtime series and want more content like this. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, so you don't miss the next videos dedicated to updates, analysis, and theories about the saga. Well, we can start with this first image. Here we are looking at one of the early concepts dedicated to the prototype's head and neck. And it's interesting because even at this early stage you can already see that some ideas were clear from the very beginning. Even in this concept we can notice that it would have had an appearance similar to that of a jester. This means that the connection to the jester figure was not something added at the end of development, but it was present from the very first ideas. It was not a last-minute decision. However, the big difference is on the neck. In this concept, the prototype was supposed to have a stretchable neck. A very particular feature, almost unsettling, which was later removed in the final version we saw in Chapter 5. A detail comes back that we already analyzed in previous videos. Originally, the prototype was supposed to be a mascot inspired by a Jack-in-the-Box toy. If you think about it, the extendable neck would have made perfect sense in that original idea. It would have been consistent with a more mechanical design, closely tied to the concept of a Jack-in-the-Box. Looking closely at this image, we can see that there wasn't just one idea for the face. There are at least 4 different variations of the face. This means that the team was still searching for the character's final identity. In one of these versions, the most interesting detail is that the prototype's face appears to be just a mask. And behind this mask you can see a skull. This is a detail that can be important. If we think about it, when the prototype speaks in the final version of the game, its face does not move. The mouth does not open, the expressions do not change, everything stays completely still. This detail, which might go unnoticed during gameplay, takes on a completely different meaning in light of these concepts. We can truly theorize that what we see in Chapter 5 is only a mask placed over something much darker. If that were really the case, then we might not have seen its true face yet. What we have in front of us could just be a cover. And considering how central the prototype is to the story of Poppy Playtime, the idea that its real face is still hidden makes everything even more unsettling. Now let's take a look at one of the very first full designs of the prototype. This concept dates back to 2021, the year when Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 was released. So we're talking about a very early stage of the series development, when many ideas were still evolving and the character had not yet taken on the final form we saw in Chapter 5. The first thing that immediately stands out is that the design was completely different from the one we know today. However, there are 2 elements that were already present and that remained in the final version: the jester-like head and the robotic arm. These 2 details seem to have been core parts of the character's identity from the very beginning, almost like the foundation of what the prototype was meant to be. Everything else, though, changed. Looking closely at the concept, another huge difference becomes clear: the size. In the game, the prototype is massive, towering, dominating the scene, and creating a sense of physical superiority. In this 2021 design, however, it appears much smaller. It even seems shorter than the player character. This tells us that initially the prototype was not meant to be a giant, overwhelming presence, but probably a more compact figure, maybe more agile, possibly even with a different gameplay role in mind. Another interesting detail concerns the body. In this concept, the prototype does not have the large robotic legs we see in the final version. Instead, its body looks like the fusion of two separate toys, assembled together in a way that feels almost improvised. The design gives the impression of something built piece by piece, rather than a single structured entity. Among the two toys that form its body, one appears to be inspired by a blue octopus mascot, and this is where things get really interesting. In the game, we have never encountered a blue octopus-like mascot. This could mean that in an earlier stage of development, there was also supposed to be a creature of this kind, which was later completely scrapped. So this concept doesn't just show us a different version of the prototype, it may have indirectly revealed the existence of another mascot that never made it into the final game. This concept doesn't only show us what was created, but also everything that was left behind along the way. And to think that all of this was the starting point for a character who has now become the absolute center of the story. And now we come to this other design. This concept is clearly much closer to the version we know today. Let's analyze it. It's a more evolved concept compared to the previous ones, and it was probably created around the development period of Chapter 3. It's no longer the small and compact figure we saw in the 2021 concept. It's huge, imposing, designed to dominate the space around it. It already has its robotic legs, which later became one of the most recognizable features of his final design. However, there is an important difference. In this concept, he only has 4 legs, not 6 like in the final version. The proportions of the body are different as well. The torso and central structure have different sizes. Then we can see that the arms are longer than the final version. In this concept, we can see that the head is always connected to a jester. However, we can see that there are no jester references in the rest of the body. In the final version, Prototype wears jester clothes. We can connect this concept to Chapter 3 of Poppy Playtime. In that chapter, we can see a monument that Catnap dedicated to the prototype, a statue that in theory was meant to represent him. If we compare that statue to this concept, the similarity is clear. The proportions, the body structure, the overall silhouette are much closer to this version than to the final design revealed later. This suggests that, at least for a certain period of development, the intended appearance of the prototype was the one reflected in the statue we saw in Chapter 3. Only later was the design modified again, eventually leading to the 6-legged version we now know. In any case, looking at this concept makes one thing clear. The prototype's design was not born in its final form. It went through multiple transformations. And each transformation tells us something about how the identity of the main antagonist of Poppy Playtime was built over time. Thanks for watching the video all the way through and for exploring all these prototype concepts with me. Stay tuned, because in the next videos, we'll continue analyzing more curiosities and details from Poppy Playtime. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. Bye bye and see you soon.